Hi friends! I'm back with another Magic the Gathering video. Now, as you probably know, Wizards of the Coast recently released their Duskmourn set, and it's everything you would want for a spooky fall theme. And so as the set released, I was looking at it, and I was slightly disappointed. It was giving 80s slasher vibes, which is not really my thing. I like horror, and I want spooky ghosts and like eldritch horror, and I will say, while it is House of Horror and there are some ghost-like themes, it felt all over the place. And it got me thinking about how much I loved Bloomburrow. It made me wonder, will I ever get a set like that I just love that much again? Probably not. But how will I gauge if I'm gonna like a set again in the future? So what I've come up with is what I call the Greenkeeper scale. Now, what is the Greenkeeper scale? If you watched my last videos, you'd know I love green. It's not only my favorite color to play, but most of the time, I love the art as well. Everything about green is perfect to me. It matches my play style, it matches what I like to do. And as someone like me who really, I don't know a great ton about Magic, green is easy to play. It's wholesome to me. I love that color. So the Greenkeeper scale is where I rate every Magic the Gathering set based on green. Now let's dive into it. So I've designed the Greenkeeper scale to be based on 5 criteria. Number 1, number of cards. Simply put, does it have more green cards than every other color in the set? And yes, I do count multicolor, especially when it gets close to a tie. Second is synergy. I kind of mix this in with mechanics and a little bit of how they work, but also what they're themed after. But if you have a better way for me to figure that out than just going through every single card, counting all the mechanics attached, please let me know, because right now, that's what I'm stuck with. 3, overall power. This is another one where it's really hard to gauge without going through every single card so in depth. I don't know about you, but I'm not smart enough for that. So we're just going off of rares and mythics. This might be a little skewed because we already know if it's going to have a majority of the cards in there are going to be green, then it's probably going to have a majority of the mythics and rares too. But I would like to clean this up as well as step 2. I know that I could include mana curve. If you have recommendations or ideas, let me know. I'm open to improving this scale. 4, art. Now, some of you may consider this pretty subjective, and in many ways it might be, but I do look for a certain sub-criteria here. I'm looking for, does it have a lot of nature art? Is that nature art good? Is the creature art good? This also can include symbol art, and especially borderless art. And lastly, 5, the creature types in general. Are the creatures creepy, or are they cute? Are they actual animals, or are they weird monsters that don't exist in real life? These are things that I'm kind of ranking that on. So I'm gonna break it down for you, but this is Duskmourn's Greenkeeper scale. First of all, I want to go through how I scored this, and it can be a little bit complicated. You don't really got to worry about the details. Just know that I did the math, I figured it out, so you don't have to. So everything here I scored on a scale of 1 to 10, or a percentage that I converted to points within each category. Then once I got my blank out of 10 points per category, then I averaged it out to get Duskmourn's overall score. So category 1, number of green cards. How I ranked number of cards is I based it off of how many colors there are. There are 5 colors: black, white, red, blue, and green. To get to the 10-point amount, they each have a kind of a fixed value depending on where they land in the scale. So, for instance, if blue had the least amount of cards, that would give it 1 point. If red had the most amount of cards, that would give it 5 points. And then I double it to get to 10. So blue would be 2 points and red would be 10. In this particular category, you will never see a 1 point, 3 point, 5, 7, or 9. So in looking at just the number of cards purely, it was very close between green and black. I actually am very surprised green was so high, but I'm glad for that. In total, there is 143 green cards. If you count multicolor, there are 48 that include green, for a total of 191 green cards in the Duskmourn set. However, it was very close. Black had 205 cards total in this set. If we were not counting multicolor cards, green would win this category. Green had only 2 more cards in this set, not counting multicolor. But when you add the multicolor, black wins. And we'll be fair to black. So for this category, green got 8 points, as it was second place behind black. Category 2, synergy and mechanics. Now, I looked up a lot of this information on Magic the Gathering Wiki, so don't come at me if I'm missing anything. I am no Magic expert, I'm just doing what I can. In this set, Duskmourn added 3 new mechanics. So how I did the scoring on this one is a little bit different. I had to do it percentage based to be fair, as not every set will release the same amount of mechanics. So for instance, this set came out with 3: Impending, Rooms, and Manifest Dread. Out of all of these mechanics, I did not like any of them for the Greenkeeper scale. None of them felt very naturalistic. None of them were even very spiritual in the way I would have hoped. I originally gave some credit to Impending and Manifest Dread because eventually the idea is that it will lead up to a creature being on the board. Kind of like, I saw that as kind of like a metamorphization. However, it wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. Impending basically conflicts with landfall, and that's also one of my favorite mechanics, so since it kind of goes against that, it's out. And Rooms and Manifest Dread just really aren't on theme in any other way. So normally how I would do this, if I liked at least one of the mechanics in here, is I would look at the percentage of the total amount. So there's 3. There's 3 mechanics here. I like 1/3 of the mechanics in the set, then that would be 33% of the mechanics I liked, which would equate to 3 points rounded down. However, I did not like a single mechanic in this set, so it gets 0 points. 0 points for category 2 synergy and mechanics. Category 3, overall power. As I said, this category could be cleaned up just a little bit. I would really like it to be more based on mana curve in addition to rares and mythics, but I have not figured out an easy way to do that without messing it up. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know. And if I find a better method in the future that may change the score, I will update you. But for this category, it was kind of similar to category 1. I based it off of how many rares and mythics, and I gave it a score similar to category 1. Now, it should not be surprising that in this set, green is the second predominant color, so its rares and mythics are also going to be in that same realm, and I was right. This gets 8 points for overall power because it has the most rares and mythics. So I'm hoping that rating is right in the grand scheme of things, but let me know if you would rate this category differently.
Hi guys, in between filming and editing this, I actually did gather some more solidifying data for this criteria. Now it doesn't really change the score, but I wanted to share it with you all here. So as mentioned, green had a score of 8 when it came to amount of rarities and mythics, but I also calculated mana curve and got data on win rate for limited, specifically premier draft form. For mana curve, let's take for instance green here. I rated mana curve based on mono green as well as all cards that include green on it. Now, when sets release, I have heard that they try to keep the colors as balanced as possible. However, as you can see here, there are some colors that are lacking in the curve a little bit more than others. I would say specifically green and black stand out as stronger here, and blue and red's curve is a bit weaker. Black and green look like they can hold out for longer as they have some higher cost cards, but also a lot of mid-range cards. I think black actually might be doing a little bit better when it comes to mid-range cost with a lot of cards at the 3 to 4 mana cost rate. So I would say between these two, black wins out, though it is a very close call. So I give green a score of 8 on the mana curve. Now for win rate, I did use 17 lands for this data and I only looked at mono colors. Now I could have also looked at scores for the 2 color or 3 color decks. However, since I did mana curve this way and focusing it solely on one color against itself, I thought this would be the fairest way was to look at mono colors for win rate, because the idea here specifically is to see if green could survive on its own. Though, if you wanted to be a little bit more picky with it, you could include those other scores as well. However, as you can see here, despite blue and red's mana curve appearing a little bit weak, it seems that they both tie for first place on highest win rate. Not only are their win rates the highest, but also the amount of games played with those colors is pretty high. Now that could mean that those are just the most common colors people are picking, or people just really like those colors and are choosing them more voluntarily. Either way, both of their scores are so close together at 56%, so I put them in first place for win rate. Mono green comes in second with a win rate of 54%, so I gave this 8 points here as well. Now when ranking overall power of green in this set based on my sub-criteria of rarity, mana curve, and win rate, they all equal to 8 points, so this does not change the score for this criteria.
Category 4, Art. Now this category is also pretty lacking. There's not really a strong metric for this. This one is more about just kind of feeling, and I do have some sub-criteria I follow, such as if it even had any art related to nature, any cool animal art, was the borderless art interesting at all, and I didn't really get that from this set. I will say it felt all over the place, nothing about it really excited me. I actually feel like it did not stay as true to the House of Horrors theme as it could have, as it should have. However, there was some things I really did like about it, especially when it came to the glimmer creature art, but borderless art, not that exciting, not that cool. In general, it just didn't fit the Greenkeeper scale, and there really is no easy metric for this. This one's kind of just personal feeling, based on how it made me feel. Was it just something I was really drawn to? Did it really fit the sub-criteria I have in mind? So I did give it a 4, but I did bump it up 1 point because the set symbol is a moth, and of all the horror symbols it could have had, it chose a moth, and that's Greenkeeper scale approved, okay? So for the art category, 4 points out of 10. Category 5, creatures. Now with this, I didn't look through every single creature and look at all of them, but I did go to the pre-release, I got the bundle, and I filtered through the card gallery on Wizards of the Coast website, but I do have a basic standard, and then it's gotta include some animals, right? Some plants, something. It really wasn't giving me a lot. There's no plant creatures. A lot of them were mostly humans. There really was not a lot of cool creatures that really fit the Greenkeeper scale theme, and that can also be seen as subjective, but some basic standard criteria is that it should at least have some basic common animals. It didn't even have rats. While it did have some other cool things like avatars and glimmers, it didn't have any elementals.
Hold up. Editing Lex here. Let's rewind. When I filmed this, it was very obvious how little I actually looked at the creature cards. I will say there definitely were some elementals. As you can see here, there's a few, but I don't think all of these are new. I think a lot of them are reprints. As you know from my last video, Shoutout is already out there and is currently the commander I'm working on. So I was excited to see that that is in this set, and props that 4 of them are green. Now I did want to take this moment to talk about other cool creature cards included in this set, especially the glimmers that I mentioned. Glimmers are light manifestations of the hopes and persistence of Duskmourn survivors, depicted in golden colors to produce a sparkling effect. As the physical manifestation of psychic phenomena, they take the form of treasured childhood objects, fondly remembered pets, friends, or other comforts that a survivor holds dear. According to Scryfall, there are 8 cards that are glimmer creatures. I think this is one of the coolest new things this set came out with. Even the art on these cards specifically is just really beautiful. I especially love Enduring Vitality and Soaring Lightbringer. But also looking at it, some of these cards are really good. Enduring Vitality has Vigilance, and creatures you control have tap to add 1 mana of any color. When Enduring Vitality dies, if it was a creature, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. It's an enchantment. This actually works very similar to Ashaya in that it can make any creature almost act as a land. While it doesn't turn your creatures into lands for the sake of landfall triggers, it does allow them to be used for mana, which is great in ramp decks. Now the only thing I don't really like about a lot of these cards is their abilities seem to be reliant on you attacking. For instance, with Soaring Lightbringer, whenever you attack a player, create a 1/1 white glimmer enchantment creature token that's tapped and attacking that player. Maybe it's just me, but I find that ability hard to play with. Just don't think it is something that you should rely on unless your entire deck allows for you to be able to attack without much consequence. I also really like Enduring Tenacity. I am currently working on a life gain drain deck, and Enduring Tenacity would be perfect for me to add to it because it says whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So as you can see here, even though I rank the creature score pretty low in this set, I do think glimmers are worth at least 1 point alone. Lastly, I wanted to clear up that there is 2 rat cards, okay? But can you really say that this set has rats when there's only 2 of them? I also want to mention that the avatars in this set are pretty cool. Just like with elementals, there are not very many of them, but they are definitely one of the key staples of this set. Every color has its own Overlord card. Overlord of the Balemark, Overlord of the Boiler Bilges, Overlord of the Flood Pits, Overlord of the Hauntwoods, and Overlord of the Mistmoors. I have to say I am also very excited about Overlord of the Hauntwoods. I got that one at the pre-release, and I am going to be adding that one to my Landfall deck. This one I'm not exactly sure how I will get it to pop off yet, but I think it will be great if I can play my cards right. Because of its ability to create land tokens, that means it will trigger my landfall. And I know I said earlier that impending seems to conflict with landfall. I think I am reevaluating that statement. I think previously I was thinking of a different mechanic and not quite sure I understood impending as well. But despite that, it still does not have any thematic value, so my mechanic score does not change. And of course, we cannot forget Valgavoth, the big guy of this set, the one everyone is talking about. There are 2 legendary creatures for Valgavoth. There's Valgavoth Terror Eater for 9 black mana, and there is Valgavoth Harrower of Souls. I am not sure if I particularly am drawn to these cards or their playstyle. Maybe I just do not understand exactly how they'll pop off or how I could use them. But sadly, even though they are styled after moths, they are just demons. Valgavoth is just a demon. Now, like I did with the green power criteria, I also thought it best to include legendary creatures in the creature criteria. Duskmourn actually released 12 new legendary creatures that were green. Green had the most of all the new legendary creatures. Black actually had the most legendary creatures in the whole set, but only by 1 extra card. While I would normally rate green probably on the same scale as black or higher for this legendary creature rating, I am going to give it second place. I'm doing this primarily because black earned its place with Valgavoth, and it technically did win an amount of legendary creatures. And let's be real, in person, I'm not hearing about all of the other legendary creatures released with this set. It's Valgavoth. Everyone wants to talk about Valgavoth. And while I do love the new Scarecrow legendary creatures in green, especially the Swarm Weaver, I think black deserves its place here for creatures. I will also give some credit here to Arabella Abandoned Doll. She is 2 mana, red-white. While she does not fit the Greenkeeper scale at all, I think she is perfect for the Duskmourn set. To me, Arabella truly defines what I imagine as a house of horrors. Items from your home coming to life is one of the most horrifying tropes of all. Also, I think she opens the door to a really cool doll tribal. And I played her in pre-release, and everyone I played against was scared of her, even though I never actually got to embody her true power. Finally, I want to say that after reviewing all of these creatures and reworking the scores, this category does change. Originally, I ranked creatures on the Greenkeeper scale for Duskmourn at a 3, which was only bumped up with Glimmers. However, after re-evaluating elementals, avatars, and really looking into the legendary creatures here, I think it deserves 1 more point up. Technically, if I did the math, this category would be at a 5, but I really don't feel strongly enough about the creatures to put it there. I barely want to give it a 4.
So now for Duskmourn's final Greenkeeper scale score. So I totaled up all the points, and then I averaged them out by category. Duskmourn is a 5 on the Greenkeeper scale, but I think that's pretty fair considering how many green cards are in this set that I did not anticipate. I did expect the score to be a little bit lower overall, like at a 2 or a 3. But hopefully I'll find a way to improve this scale and it'll be even more accurate. But I think 5 is still pretty fair for Duskmourn because I still really like the set for some of its quirky things. So yeah, there's Duskmourn's Greenkeeper scale score. If you guys would have rated it differently, let me know. How would you have put each category? I'll drop the categories below with their final scores so you guys can see. Overall, I want these videos to be pretty simple, short and sweet, and I hope that I can review more sets in the future this way. I think it will be a great way for me to figure out if it's a set for me. Alright friends, that's all I have for you today. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and comment below your thoughts about this set. I hope to make more videos like this in the future, and I'll probably go back and also include set reviews for past sets like Bloomburrow, Wilds of Eldraine, other ones that I liked, and we'll see how that goes. But until then, see you guys next time, and thanks again for watching.